very dangerous shot he's got.
It's the worst.
That's the worst. It's just got to be the worst shot.
And all right, now let's get over to our guy Mike Johnson, because we got to get to this looming government shutdown, which I believe we're already in. But let's see what Mike Johnson got to say for himself. Because, I mean, bro, it's your job to avoid this type of stuff. And it seems like we cannot avoid this type of stuff. We just got done with the longest government shutdown in history. We broke a record right there. Thanks, Dems. And apparently, I guess they went around too. And what y'all want? What, like 45, 50 days? Y'all trying to go for another high score? But let's see.
And joining me now is Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, Republican of Louisiana. Speaker Johnson, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Always great to be with you. Thanks.
It is great to have you. And as we sit here today, we are in the...
Hey, yo, and shout out to my man, Jade. He's like, I want so many illegals deported. We never have to press 1 for English ever again. God damn. All right, that was funny. Never had to press 1 for English ever again. Is it nah, bro? It's gonna be like what? Do you want UK English or American English? That's the only type we want. That's all we want to hear. That'll be a beautiful day indeed. But I think we're stuck with that one for life, sadly.
Midst of a partial government shutdown. So I want to start right there. The latest reports are that you've spoken to Leader Hakeem Jeffries, that he has made it clear that you don't have Democrat support to reopen the government. So let me put this bottom line question to you. Are you confident that the government will reopen on Monday with Republican votes? Do you have enough Republican support?
And I want to tell y'all this, like, bro. Now, the Dems are doing this to what? Defund ICE, right? That's one of the main goals, is talk about funding for ICE. Well, here's the crazy part. Funding for ICE has already been passed for the entire year, of 2026. So if they shut the government down, they'll be hurting every DHS department but ICE. So they're not even, if they shut the government down over them wanting to defund ICE, it is too late. It is too late unless they want a promise to defund ICE for next year or something. But right now, if they're asking to defund ICE now, it is too late. They already got their funding. It's cooked. But if they're willing to put the American people and everybody else that falls under the American people and the other agencies that fall under DHS in trouble, then okay, so be it. But I just want to let you guys know, if they're doing this for ICE defunding, they're not going to get it. And think about it. We're talking about the same group of people that did this for what? The ACA subsidies. Have the ACA subsidy been passed? No. So did they get anything they want last time? No. So I'm really wondering what they're hoping to do with this.
Well, let's say I'm confident that we'll do it at least by Tuesday. We have a logistical challenge of getting everyone in town. And because of the conversation I had with Hakeem Jeffries, I know that we've got to pass a rule and probably do this mostly on our own. I think that's very unfortunate. Here's what's happened. You know, the House and Senate appropriators worked very well together, bicameral, bipartisan, committee-led process, especially after the 43-day shutdown, the longest in U.S. history last fall. No one wanted to put that pain on the American people again. The Democrats forced it. We were insistent that we would not allow that to happen. But, you know, I tip my hat to everybody, appropriators in both parties who got this together. After the Senate acted over the weekend, we will now have 11 of 12 separate appropriations bills approved by both chambers. Because they modified our package, they've sent it over a little differently, which means we've got to address the bills again. So they're going to separate the Department of Homeland Security bill. Our intention is by Tuesday to fund all agencies of the federal government except for that one, and then we'll have 2 weeks of good faith negotiations to figure it out.
And just bottom line, you think you have enough Republican votes to reopen the government by Tuesday?
Yeah, because Republicans are going to do the respensible thing and fund the government. They're playing.
But you have a razor-thin margin. That's what I'm getting at.
I have a one-vote margin, yes, for the rest of 2026. But we're going to demonstrate once again that this is the party that takes governing seriously. The Democrats play games with this, and I think it's very unfortunate because what they're doing is they're jeopardizing services to the American people. When you're talking about the Department of Homeland Security, remember what's included in that. You have TSA agents for the airports. You have the Coast Guard. You have FEMA. We're in the middle of a winter storm disaster on the East Coast. We can't play games with this.
So let's talk
And that's what I'm saying. It's like they're holding the American people hostage like they were doing with SNAP benefits. And they was asking them to use the contingency fund, but the contingency fund was already appropriated for a school lunch program. So like the Dems are kind of like riding reckless on this. Again, it's like, we're still under a snowstorm. There's this apparently some type of snow cyclone that's about to hit some states in the South. And you guys want to freeze funding for DHS and defund them. And you can't do it for ICE. So who are you doing it for? Like, it doesn't make sense at this point, but we will see how they make it make sense, because they're going to have to, because it does seem like they are about to shut down the government for nothing again.
What Democrats are demanding as a part of this, they want to see changes to DHS, to ICE, in the wake of the deaths of those 2 Americans in Minneapolis. The changes they're asking for include an end to roving patrols, no more face masks, mandatory body cameras, and judicial warrant requirements. Given what has been happening on the ground in Minneapolis, Mr. Speaker, do you support any or all of those changes?
Listen, there's been tragedies in Minnesota and in Minneapolis in particular, brought about in large measure by the circumstances on the ground. You have the governor and local officials there, in some cases inciting violence. They're encouraging citizens to disrupt the operations of law enforcement, and it sets up a dangerous situation.
But they're calling for peaceful protests.
No,
they are, but they're also
saying, I mean, no, look, they're calling for peaceful protests while also calling for the obstruction of ICE and to view these guys as Gestapos and Nazis. I mean, the doublespeak is crazy. So here's the problem. These guys, these protesters, peaceful protesters, are turning into obstructionists. They're following ICE around. They're creating, like, Discord chats and all that to mark down their license plate and all this good stuff to follow them around. This is turning into a community organized effort. If they spend this much community time, cleaning up their streets and cleaning up Somali's fraud or looking for fraud, I promise you Minnesota would be the most crime-free place in the United States. But instead, they're putting all this community effort into stopping the enforcement of immigration laws. Like, I'm telling you, we're going to watch this James O'Keefe video later on in the stream, and I'm going to show you how much effort they're really putting into stopping ICE. And it's going to be sickening, because you're just like, y'all could have did this for way better reasons than this bullshit right here that actually helps the community instead of put people in your community in danger. But okay.
To resist. They're also saying they're doxing the agents of ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And so when you're talking about masking, the reason that ICE agents wear masks is to protect their own identities and protect their own families. And in some circumstances, they've had a price put on their heads effectively by local officials. And that's what's created the dangerous conditions.
But these state and local officials respectfully didn't pull the triggers that left these 2 Americans dead. President Trump has even acknowledged that ICE has made mistakes. Do you think within that context, any changes need to be made to ICE and the way it's operating on the ground?
Look, I think President Trump was right to acknowledge that. I think he's operating in good faith. He said he wanted to turn the temperature down. He put Tom Homan in charge there. He was right to deputize him over that situation.
And shout out Tove, appreciate the support, sis. She says the Great Lakes, New England State. Damn it, why the Great Lakes? But the Great Lakes and the New England states and the New England coastal states will be getting hit with a polar vortex and a bomb cyclone towards the end of the week. So set. We're gonna get hit hard. You may want a generator. I mean, bruh, again. I just got done digging my car out of 14 inches of snow, bro. I mean, sis, you don't understand. I'm still dealing with the 14 inches of snow now. Like, this is some bull. But all right. I mean, it is what it is, man. Life hits you with snow, you get the shovel, apparently. Or the snow blower for you more luxurious types. Because I'm getting me that snow blower. I'm telling you that right now. But all right, though. Back to the show. Sorry, guys.
He has 40 years experience in Border Patrol and in these issues. So I think that this is going to happen, but we need good faith on both sides. Some of these conditions and requests that they've made are obviously reasonable and should happen, but others are going to require a lot more negotiation.
And you'll support some of those that you say are reasonable?
Yes. In fact, I was in the Oval Office with the president a few days ago when he was on the phone with Leader Schumer, and they agreed, and Tom Homan was on the other line, and they agreed to most of those conditions. But the mask, for example, the additional judicial requirement for a warrant would be a whole other layer of effectively bureaucracy. Remember, the immigration judges have already issued warrants, and that's what the ICE officials are acting upon. So there's a lot of details in this. We could get deep in the weeds, but we will do that over the next 2 weeks. And I hope that Democrats will be in good faith, as Republicans are, to try to bring some order to all.
I mean, here's the wild part about it. Like Dems, you do know that, yes, you are protecting your undocumented neighbors, but you're also protecting undocumented pedophiles as well. I hope you know this, like, because I know what you're thinking, like,
What did he say?
yeah, but you are protecting pedophiles and child molesters and people who do the worst of the worst, who do pretty heinous crimes. And yes, but you're at the same time, though, you are protecting your undocumented neighbors. But just remember, you're also obstructing ICE investigations to catching these guys as well. When you block them off, when you blow the whistle, you know, you're letting these guys know that ICE is in the area so they can get away and continue doing heinous crimes. Or, you know, on the brighter side of things, you know, you're just helping your undocumented neighbor who you knew for years get away because you don't want to see him go. You know, both things you're doing at the same time, simultaneously.
Are there any proposed changes
It is
you
what it
wouldn't
is.
agree with? They're demanding also roving patrols and body cameras be worn by ICE officials.
I think even Tom Homan has acknowledged both of those things are acceptable and what he was intending to do already. So I think we're on the path to get agreement, and I really hope that everybody will come to the table in good faith. That's what's going to be required here.
Let me zoom out and ask you about Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. As you know, there's been a lot of focus on her hours after Alex Preddy was killed. Secretary Noem accused him of being a, quote, domestic terrorist before the investigation had been done. She said he had brandished a gun at agents, which videos and DHS itself later contradicted. Do you think the Department of Homeland Security needs new leadership, Mr. Speaker?
Look, I think Kristi Noem has been called to do a very difficult job. Remember,
Now, I do think it's unfair how they're already trying to call for her to be removed. When I'm gonna be honest with you, like, Minneapolis is just a one-off situation. Like, she's actually been doing pretty well when it comes to other states and other cities. So trying to fire her over what's happening in one city is a bit unfair. And it kind of goes to show that Minneapolis is a special case. If we're doing this in other places and it's not going this bad, it kind of lets you know that something different, is going on in Minneapolis that is making this turn into a pretty violent or protest, or not really a protest, that's really turning into a riot. That's looking like it's about to get sent into an insurrection, because they are obstructing law enforcement. They don't want the enforcement of federal law, and they're willing to go against government authority to do so. So, I mean, that's a definition of it. We don't need an insurrection act right now. I'll agree with Monty when he says that, but to be honest, you guys are there.
that the agency was effectively eviscerated.
And I don't think we need to fire Kristi Noem because of that one-off situation. But she does need to be condemned for just trying to call them, you know, domestic terrorists. And I mean, Stephen Miller went off he went off the rails with the whole assassin thing.
For 4 years under the Biden
Where he was
administration,
going.
wide open borders. So nearly 20 million illegal aliens came across that border, and many of them are dangerous, hardened criminals and even terrorists. So she's taken over a crushing assignment. I mean, anyone who is in that position would have a difficult time with it. I think it's important for all of us at any level not to prejudge circumstances until we get all the facts. And I think that that's been a good reminder to everyone. We've seen now in the last couple of days that Mr. Preddy that passed, it was a tragic situation, that he was involved in at least in the week before that tragic event, in inciting law enforcement. And, you know, everybody's seen the video now of him kicking the taillights out of an ICE vehicle. If local law enforcement had been involved, we have to ask ourselves this question: would he still be alive right now? Because if they had apprehended him and he was in jail safely, he would not have been on the streets to have been involved in that circumstance.
But you don't think kicking a taillight amounts to something that's punishable by death?
Well, no, of course not. No, and that was a separate.
No, but I mean, he kicked the tail light out. He spit in their direction. They forced him to the ground. I believe he broke a rib in that situation. And then the man goes right back out there and gets himself involved again. And this time he ended up dying. It's like kind of crazy, because it's like, hold on. So a week ago, or maybe more, I believe, they said it was like a week ago, before he got shot by Custom Border Patrol. A week ago, he got into it with ICE. They showed the footage. And when he got put to the ground, he broke a rib. He did not learn his lesson. He still went out there a week later and think it was okay to obstruct law enforcement during a law enforcement scene. And yes, I know it is tough to see an old lady get pushed down. I get it. I get it. But to go in there in front of an officer while you're like armed without letting that officer know, yeah, that's kind of what did him in, sadly.
Circumstance. But the point is, it is unlawful to impede the operations of law enforcement, and it sets up a dangerous situation when people do that.
But do you have a
Oh, and shout out Toe. She says that's the point of Minnesota. They are letting it get out of control to make it seem like this is what it is happening everywhere where ICE is and will go. And yeah, I mean, they're trying to paint a picture of, no, this could be you. This could be you guys. No. This what happens when the governor use inflammatory language like, oh, they're the Gestapo and they're about to kidnap you and take you to a foreign torture dungeon, which is actually what Tim Walz said. Then you got Jacob Fry not providing any type of crowd control to protect his own constituents, but he'll sit there and tell ICE to get the F out, but won't tell his officers to step the fuck in. It's like, okay.
% confidence in Kristi Noem, Mr. Speaker?
I do have confidence in Kristi Noem. I think that
Full confidence?
Yes. Look, she has a difficult job. I have a lot of sympathy for her job. I've got a difficult job too. Look, I think that there will be a recalibration in some measure. This is President Trump saying that they're going to look at the way operations are conducted. The intent is to rid our communities of dangerous, illegal aliens, hardened criminals who are here causing great havoc across the country, and they need to continue that work, and that is fully supported by the American people.
All right, let me ask you about another major story. On Friday, the Justice Department released what it said were the rest of the Epstein files. A group of Epstein survivors responded with a statement saying it's not enough, saying, quote, Epstein's enablers continue to benefit from secrecy. The Justice Department cannot claim it is finished releasing files until every legally required document is released and every abuser and enabler is fully exposed. As long as the survivors say that not enough is being done, has DOJ finished its work, in your opinion?
We all want every abuser and enabler to be fully exposed. We want justice to be done. It's long overdue. But I do think the Department of Justice is complying with the law, that we have now 3.5 million documents. You have over 2,000 videos and I think 180,000 images out there. And as soon as they finish the final release, they give us the full report to Congress, which is required under the law. And then they issue I think in the Federal Register, they have to publish why they've made any redactions. The DOJ will have fully complied with the law and done their job. But think of the mass, the volume of documents.
No, I did hear about that. No, I did hear about that wildness. Somebody did try to break Luigi Mangione out of jail by impersonating law enforcement or a federal agent. I'm just going like, bro, wait, they got James Bond coming after this guy? Like, bro, you just about to pull up, impersonate a federal agent and just disappear with Luigi Mangione, and we was never gonna hear from that guy again. Lord knows that. But they just shipped that man off to Cuba. So I'm glad we stopped that, because could you imagine if that actually worked?
Remember, they have to go through and make sure that they're protecting the innocent. So some of these young women who were victimized, we do not want them to endure further harm. And so that's been the intention, is to make sure that their names are taken out of that.
President Trump's name appears throughout the Epstein files, including in many of the new documents released this week. Now, we want to stress appearing in the Epstein files does not amount to or imply criminal wrongdoing. But do you have any outstanding questions, given that, about the relationship between President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein?
I do not. I mean, I've spoken to the president about this privately and personally many times, and he's spoken very candidly and openly to the public. He says the same things privately that he does publicly. He's never had any concern about that. Remember, President Trump was one of the first people that called Epstein out. He kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago, off the property, because he heard of some of the nefarious things he was engaged in. He's never had any concern about that at all.
He did at one point call these files a Democratic hoax. But let me ask you about something.
Well, what he said specifically was the hoax of the Democrats trying to turn this into a political issue and use it against him. That was wrong.
Let me ask you about something that Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, who's now resigned from Congress last month, in part over this fight to release the Epstein files. This is something she said about you in an interview with the New York Times. I want to give you an opportunity to respond. She says, quote, "I want you to know that Johnson is not our speaker. He is not our leader. And in the legislative branch, a totally separate body of government, he is literally 100% under the direct orders of the White House." Mr. Speaker, how do you respond? Are you 100% under the direct orders of the White House?
It's comical. If Marjorie had ever attended conference meetings and been involved as a member, as she should, she would know that that is simply not true. I vigorously defend Article 1 of the Constitution. That's the legislative branch. I was a constitutional law attorney before I became Speaker. Closely together because we have unified government. That's what the American people voted for last fall. They gave the Republican Party control of the White House, the Senate, and the House. And the intention there is that you work efficiently and effectively together. So the president and I have conversations sometimes multiple times a day about policy procedures. We have a lot of our discussions and sometimes debates together behind the curtain because you don't want to do that when you're in the same party out in public. That has made a very effective and efficient government. And I will say this.
Now, look, like I said, I kind of agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene complaints on the administration, but the way she went about it was all types of wrong. And think about it like this. She never went on Fox News or News Nation to get any type of pushback. No, she went straight to CNN, MSNBC, to where she knows she could sit there and say whatever she wants with no pushback whatsoever. None whatsoever. I mean, like I said, I remember when she went on CNN and started talking about, oh, I'm not really agreeing with the immigration and they're reporting the innocent illegals. You know, I'm in construction. And I'm just like, are you effing serious? You're the people that we don't like the most then. These people, millionaires who sit in our face and tell us, oh, yeah, we want to hire undocumented immigrants because it's cheaper for us and not hire you guys. Why? Because it's cheaper for us. And you're saying it in our face. And she's literally said that on CNN in an interview. After that, I was just like, oh, yeah, she cooked. She cooked in my eyes. I don't really care what she got to say after that because she kind of exposed it was all on self-interest, even though she brought up some relevant points in the Trump administration, how we need to start focusing on domestic policy instead of worrying about foreign affairs.
First year of the Trump administration that we just got through was probably one of the most productive in all the history of Congress. And you can go back, that's what history is going to show. Very productive, very efficient, effective government. We had to reverse all the madness of the 4 years of the Biden administration. And we got so much of it done already and still more yet to do.
Is there any area where you do disagree with President Trump? Is there one place that you can point to?
Yes, but as I just said, we do this privately and not public. I'm going to support my president. Our party is leading. We are governing. We have closed the border. We've gotten the economy going again. We're fulfilling our promises. And that's why we're going to win the midterm election, by the way, and keep this going.
Okay, you take me to my next question. In fact, I want to talk to you about the midterms. And I want to play you something. This was in focus this week. President Trump said this last week at Davos. This was about the 2020 elections. Take a look.
It was a rigged election. Everybody now knows that. They found out. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It's probably breaking news, but it should be. It was a rigged election. Can't have rigged elections.
Is it healthy for this country's democracy, for the sitting president to be questioning the 2020 election 5 years ago? Something.
Oh, guys, make sure we double tap that screen like the video, guys. Let's get us to 100 likes. We just need about 38 of y'all to double tap that screen. Appreciate the support, guys.
Claims that have been deemed to be false again now that he lost.
What's healthy for our country and our democracy is for everyone to be laser focused on election integrity. If you don't have free and fair
election integrity, Mr. Speaker.
Yes,
this was asked and answered and litigated and relitigated. The page has been turned. He's still talking about an election that he lost, allegations which have been deemed claimed.
The president.
I'm gonna be real with you. Nah, not really. I mean, there's been plenty of proof that there was tampering in certain areas in America when it came to the election. And those weren't relitigated whatsoever. So, no. I ain't going, look, 2020, sketchy things were going on. Everybody knows it. And the funny thing is, the Dems love to sit there and play in our face like nothing happened because they're the benefactors of it. But you know what? I wonder if they'd have that same attitude if it was them. But they don't ever really got to worry about that one because they're the ones doing the rigging. I mean, this is why they want all these illegals in here, to rig it and not to have them vote. They could do it through the census.
Keeping the focus on election integrity, it must be in the forefront of everyone's minds, because if you don't have a free and fair election, you cannot maintain a constitutional republic. He's bothered by what happened in 2020, and we all know there was a lot of irregularity and problem in that, and we're not going to relitigate it. That's not the point. What we have to do is go forward and ensure that we don't have these problems in the future. That's why the House has passed the SAVE Act twice already. We have further election integrity measures that we're working on.
And here's a wild thing, though. You know, it kind of makes it obvious that the Dems don't believe in election integrity. Why was it such a big, like, why was we really pulling teeth with these guys to invoke voter ID? Like, really think about that. It should have been okay, yeah, duh, we're gonna do that. Yeah, voter ID. Instead, they try to make it seem like minorities and minorities were dumbass and be like, well, you know, they won't know how to fill out the paperwork, or that's just extra steps. Like, think about it like that. If they really cared about voter integrity, why are they making excuses on voter ID? Why are they making excuses to hand over the registration records? It's oh so easy, just do it. I mean, that's why there's actually a case coming out of Georgia now about voter integrity or voting integrity. And don't worry, it will be, well, actually, you can go look it up for yourself. You can go look up voting fraud in Georgia, and yes, new investigation into it, and it actually has some substantial evidence. We'll see what comes out of that.
Now, and everybody in both parties should applaud that. They should support it.
You're saying there were irregularities. State and federal election officials called 2020 the most secure election in history. But let me ask you about what's happening in Georgia this week. FBI agents executed a warrant at an election hub in Fulton County, seizing ballots and records tied to the 2020 election. I want you to listen to what Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff of Georgia had to say about this search. Take a look.
And here's the thing. This is a shot across the bow at the midterm elections. He tried to steal power.
Hold on.
Executed a warrant at an election.
It's hilarious.
Both parties should applaud that. They should support it.
You're saying there were irregularities. State and federal election officials called 2020 the most secure election in history. But let me ask you about what's happening in Georgia.
Hey, no, that's how you know they stole it. When they sit there, be like, no, that was the most fair. No, there was no discrepancies. Nothing happened. No ballot stuffing, even though it was all caught on camera. But nothing. That was the most fair election ever. It's like, okay, bro. Okay. I mean, it kind of shows something when you got to sit there and you got to emphasize on how fair it was, knowing damn well people were asking questions all over America. All over, we was asking questions about it. But apparently, we're not supposed to believe our lying eyes.
This week, FBI agents executed a warrant at an election hub in Fulton County, seizing ballots and records tied to the 2020 election. I want you to listen to what Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff of Georgia had to say about this search. Take a look.
I mean, why does he have to say anything at all? If he cares so much about voting integrity and there's nothing to hide, I mean, why even say anything? I mean, he should just sit there and be like, look, bro, we're just going to get proved twice right again. He's just going to prove us right twice. Go ahead. Take the records, like, look at them at your discretion and come back to us. Why does he even have to say anything? Doesn't it kind of seem that, like, isn't that a bit funny? But, hey, I could be overthinking it.
And here's the thing. This is a shot across the bow at the midterm elections. He tried to steal power when he lost it in 2020. We have to be.
No, he didn't try to steal power. He just wanted it to actually be investigated. That's all they was asking for, to be quite honest with you. It's funny how they try to frame Trump and January 6th as trying to overthrow the government. And if they were, I mean, let's be real, January 6th would have pulled up with the AR-15s and stuff, but they didn't. It was a peaceful protest that turned into a riot, not an insurrection. But it is kind of crazy how they're trying to bring that up as, oh, he's trying to overthrow the government. No, they were protesting the vote. They did it like 3 times before January 6th. They was protesting the election, asking for a recount, asking for it to be properly investigated. That's all they were doing. And they weren't heard on that. It is what it is.
Prepared for all kinds of schemes and shenanigans. We have to be prepared for him to try to deprive people of their voting rights in Georgia.
What do you say?
So now it's about voting rights. Oh, okay. So us double checking your election records is now violating voting rights. I mean, okay, bro. You see, it's like y'all hiding too much. Every time we look into it, these guys get thrown into a frenzy as if, oh, we're wrong for even thinking about it. I think about it. Remember this. YouTube was taking down videos for talking about election rigging. They were taking down videos just talking about it. And of course, if you said anything against COVID, but those were the two things during the election you could not talk about was COVID and election rigging. So it goes to show you how crazy it was, like when it came to election, how crazy the topic was when it came to election rigging, because people were actually showing real proof and getting their videos taken down across all platforms. And I mean, shout out to Mark Zuckerberg, because admitting that the Biden administration did coerce him to take down anything that spoke on election rigging and COVID. And this has all been proven. But you know what hasn't been proven? That the election was stolen. All we have is all this evidence and witnesses and all that good stuff that's never really been truly investigated. So, I mean, Dems got us on that. And shout out to Tove. Appreciate the support, sis. She says, whoop. Stealing power is a Democrat's move, my guy. Yeah, I mean, ain't that the truth? Look, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about it. The election being rigged, if you actually look at, what was it? 1,000, 2,000 mules that they sit there and try to debunk, even though there are witness statements and all this crazy stuff, literally saying they were getting paid to stuff ballots for the election. I mean, the fact that Biden held, like, the fact that when all these senators were trying to talk to Biden, talking like, yo, there's something going on with this election, he's hitting them with the no debate, no debate, no debate. All that meant nothing. All that meant nothing to the Dems as long as they got their guy in there. So that's what we also got to understand. I mean, when they're rigging or when the cheating works out in your favor, are you really complaining? Like, think about it. Do you think what was the team that got caught up for deflating the ball? Was it the Patriots or something like that? I mean, if you're a Patriots fan and you won and you got your money from the cheating, or you're happy that they won, did you really care that the cheating went down and it went in your favor? I mean, that's just how it is sometimes. Now, me, off the guidelines of integrity, I would care, but most people don't. And it is what it is.
To that allegation that President Trump is going to meddle in the 2026 midterm elections, that's what he's doing in Georgia. I
find it comical that one of the senators from Georgia is talking about schemes in elections. Remember, Georgia was example A of that in the 2020 election.
There were two statewide recounts in Georgia, Mr. Speaker.
They sent mail-out ballots to everyone. Everyone knows all of the problems that occurred in Georgia. It was very controversial.
Bro, the same problem that was happening in Georgia was happening in Ohio. They were sending mail-out ballots, ballots of people who don't live in houses no more, or sending like ballots out of people to their old address, and people was able to double vote with that. They'd be able to put in a whole lot of votes because there was no way of verifying if that person was actually the one who was voting with the mail-out ballots. Shoot, somebody could have got your ballot and voted for you, and you don't even know. So, yeah, I'm sorry. There was plenty of problems with that. Oh, and especially the no voter ID. Like, come on now. You can't sit there and say that was the most like fair election or held with the utmost integrity and held to the utmost standard of fairness. It's like, it wasn't. There was a lot of bullshit going down. And some states were more egregious than others, but it was going on across the country. We all noticed it.
Controversially, and remains so to this day because of all the things that happened there. Again, we're not going to relitigate that, but what we have to focus on is going forward to ensure that there are not questions about the elections. And that's why Republicans are working at the federal and the state levels to clean those things up, to clean up voter rolls, to make sure illegals are not voting, for example. That's what the SAVE Act is about. And we have to continue that. And the president is keeping a proper focus on it. This investigation is to ensure that all the questions that about the elections in Fulton County are investigated properly so that people have confidence in the system again. That's very important.
But there are really no questions about election integrity from 2020 that have not been asked and answered. Even the Republican-led the Republican-led governor has pointed out it's been years and no one has ever come forward under oath with evidence of fraud in Georgia. But let me ask you, was it appropriate for the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard?
What do you mean, bro? Yeah, I was taking people's videos down anytime somebody presented evidence. Bro, actually, there was governors and there was senators, congressmen who was trying to present evidence. They was hit with the no debate by Biden. That's what I'm saying. They act like oh, nobody stepped up to the plate. No, you're wrong. When people showed video, you took it down. When people try to present it to your face, you said no debate. I'm done listening. And then they want to call that,